Hango sa mga salitang Espanyol, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo estamos, señores y señoras? Kumusta po kayo? Isang simpleng tanong. Ngunit sa mga nakalipas na araw, linggo at buwan, tila napakahirap nitong bigyang kasagutan. Kumusta nga ba tayo? Ang isang sagot na alam kong nararamdaman ng bawat isa sa atin sa bulwagang ito, pagod. Pagod sa kanya-kanyang pinagdaraanan. Pagod sa mga problemang tila paulit-ulit na lang. And I am quite certain that I am not the only one standing on this precipice of exhaustion. Because many of us Filipinos are tired. We are tired of hearing the same news discussed in the daily newscast, while ordinary Filipinos struggle, hoping that tomorrow might be kinder to them than today. We are tired of seeing the quiet indifference in our systems, while our institutions drift apart, feeling out of touch with the very lives they were meant to build. They were meant to serve and protect. And yet, look around you. Despite the crushing weight of our individual burdens, and notwithstanding our profound collective exhaustion, we do not falter. We persevere. We continue showing up. Pagod tayo, pero patuloy tayong lumalaban sa araw-araw. And I believe that the reason that we keep going is because beneath the frustrations and disappointments that we each have, there is a stubborn, unyielding part of each one of us which still believes that things can be better, that we can be the ones to change them. To the distinguished members of the Board of Trustees chaired by Mr. Alfredo Ayala, our university administration led by the President Dr. Fay Lea Patria M. Lauraya, our honorable guest speaker, the Executive Director of the 2nd Congressional Commission on Education, Dr. Carol Markey, our esteemed deans, professors, mentors, our support and security personnel, guests, parents, families, and most of all, my resilient colleagues in the graduating class of 2026. Good morning. Today, I am deeply humbled and I am truly grateful because this is the 4th time that I will be delivering a valediction. The first was in 2008, when I graduated as valedictorian from Naga City Montessori School. The second was in 2012 when I graduated as valedictorian of Naga City Science High School. The third was in 2017 at the PICC when I graduated as valedictorian from the University of Asia and the Pacific. And now, 9 years later, 2026, as I graduate from the University of Nueva, Caceres. People offer their congratulations and I receive their kindness with great honor. But if a life spent chasing academic credentials and academic excellence has taught me anything, it is that these achievements, they do not tell you the full story. Our yearbooks, transcripts, and diplomas will elegantly list who graduated and what honors were earned. But they remain silent on what those achievements actually cost. They do not document the raw human toll and the sacrifices behind the letters. Our diplomas do not show the vulnerability that I myself experienced firsthand as a 22-year-old English teacher working in Spain immediately upon college graduation, and 2 years later in the United Arab Emirates. I saw how our modern-day heroes, our overseas Filipino workers, sacrificed their dignity, enduring systemic discrimination just to send a better life back home. Our transcripts, they do not record the reality of being undervalued in foreign lands simply because of the passport I held, an experience that ultimately forged my desire to return home and to study the law. Our academic records, they do not show the sleepless nights and moments of despair when the weight of work, family, and survival made me wonder if I should just stop trying. Our credentials, they do not tell us about the overwhelming grace that carried us through when our strength had long since expired. When I returned from Dubai at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, this law degree felt impossibly distant. Before finding my true home here at the University of Nueva Caceres, I had to walk away from a scholarship at my first law school in Metro Manila. But standing here today as your valedictorian, I realized that walking away was not a defeat. It was the very choice that allowed me to redirect and find the community where I truly belong. Thank you, University of Nueva Caceres. It proved to me one fundamental truth, that life is what you make it. Because like so many of my classmates, I learned that life never pauses just because you have a dream. The family obligations remain, the work deadlines intensify, and the monthly bills arrive without fail. A significant number of us, myself included, navigated this dense legal terrain while holding down full-time jobs. We survived the brutal daily sprint, grinding through an 8 to 5 workday, rushing through a manic 15 to 30-minute drive to UNC, and showing up for a grueling 5:30 to 8:30 class even on nights when we felt completely unprepared. We balanced the rigorous demands of the classroom with the endless responsibilities of the workplace. And so at this point, I would like to step away from my speech for a bit and ask everyone in this hall to give our working students a resounding, well-deserved round of applause. When I look at this graduating batch, I do not just see academic gowns. I see raw perseverance, quiet sacrifice, and a living, breathing manifestation of hope. Growing up as the academic kid, I operated under the illusion that success meant proving yourself to everyone, proving yourself to every room that you walked into. But returning from overseas humbled me. It taught me that a meaningful life is never about proving yourself to others. It is about having the courage to become exactly who you are meant to be. In Philippine jurisprudence, the Supreme Court powerfully reminds us of this structural alignment in the landmark case of Dex versus San Diego. In the immortal words of Justice Isagani Cruz, we cannot have a society of square pegs in round holes, of dentists who should never have left the farm, and engineers who should have studied banking, and teachers who could be better off as merchants. Even pop culture echoes this truth. One of my favorite lines from the TV show Young Sheldon states that when your days are over, God will never ask you why you were not Einstein, but He might ask you why you were not yourself. Those words have become a permanent anchor for me because comparison is the easiest, most toxic trap in legal education. In law school, we compulsively compare everything: grades, recitations, intelligence, career progress, and personal progress. But before we realize it, we begin measuring our intrinsic human worth against someone else's entirely different journey. But every single person in this very hall possesses a distinct narrative, a different starting point, a completely different race to run. The objective was to never become a carbon copy of someone else. The objective, my dear friends, has always been to become fully, authentically ourselves. This is the very essence of our university motto, non scholae sed vitae, not of school, but of life. UNC did not train us to memorize codal provisions to pass an exam. It committed itself to transforming us into morally upright and socially responsible professionals. Law school here in UNC reinforced a vital lesson for me, that pressure is a privilege. The sacrifices mattered because the dream was substantial. But we step into the legal profession at a historic moment when public faith in foundational institutions is dangerously fractured. The defining question is, what kind of lawyers will we become? People openly question whether justice is merely a luxury item reserved for the wealthy and well-connected. They wonder if integrity is a relic of the past. After decades of administrative disappointment, many of our fellow citizens no longer expect the system to work for them at all. And to be completely honest, we understand their cynicism. There are days when it feels infinitely easier to complain rather than contribute, and safer to turn away, to care only for ourselves. But whenever I feel the creeping chill of cynicism, I choose to remember the people who sat beside me in the trenches of the UNC School of Law. Future lawyers who refused to surrender even when life gave them every logical reason to quit. And then I remember this fundamental truth. Institutions do not transform themselves. People transform them. The system that we so frequently criticize is not an abstract, untouchable concept. Very soon, we will become the system. Ago, at the age of 30, while navigating my fourth year here in law school, I was unexpectedly called to step into a significant leadership position as the Vice President for Administration and Finance of Bicol State College of Applied Sciences and Technology. Suddenly, I found myself leading professionals whose decades of service far exceeded my age. Faced with understandable skepticism and, of course, raised eyebrows, my immediate reaction was a surge of unearned confidence. It was not a surge of unearned confidence, but one of humility. And a very real, very human anxiety. I even lost weight. I felt the crushing pressure of high-stakes transitions compounded by the literal weight of a typhoon that struck just 2 days into my designation. But that test of character taught me that true service means looking at those raised eyebrows and choosing to listen, to collaborate, and to work through the storm from the ground up. When we finally assume our roles as full-fledged members of the legal profession, may we intentionally remember the frustrations that we felt as ordinary citizens. If we hold on to the memory of what it felt like to be unheard, let us be the generation that actually rewrites the narrative. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, dahil naging mainit na usapin noong mga nakaraang linggo ang pagbibilang kung alin ba talaga ang quorum sa 12 o 13, allow me to do some counting of my own to drive a final crucial point as I conclude this valediction. 4 times I have been named a valedictorian, but standing here today, I am deeply aware that it also took 4 long years to earn this degree and an entire village to achieve such an accomplishment. The medals and the diplomas that we will receive later today are not the most valuable things that we are taking home. The people, the wonderful memories, and the unbreakable relationships are. True distinction is never found on what we display on a wall, but in whom we carry in our hearts. Three foundational words to live by: grit, gratitude, and grace. Grace, because none of us arrived at this destination alone. Grit, because there were days when our finest achievement was simply refusing to quit and simply showing up. Gratitude, because every success story in this hall was paid for by the invisible sacrifices of those who loved us through the dark. Two characters for us graduating law students: JD. We step forward as Juris Doctor degree holders today, and every soul in this hall knows exactly how much human sacrifice, cognitive labor, and emotional endurance those two letters represent. One dot. The one full stop that will soon complete the prefix ATTY before our names. And with that hard-earned title comes one ultimate question for every single member of this graduating class. Who will we become after today? Decades from now, the world will completely forget our grades and our academic rankings, but they will remember our character. They will remember whether we used our knowledge to protect the vulnerable. To our distinguished professors, especially those that I am proud to call my teachers, Judge Formaran, who, much to my classmates' enjoyment, faithfully called on me to recite for more than 30 minutes every single meeting back in first-year criminal procedure class, apparently because he said it sounded like the two of us were just casually conversing. Thank you, Judge, for effectively sentencing me to what felt like a daily reclusion perpetua. Attorney Castro, I know you're here, who would instinctively ask the rest of the class, "Any other?" the moment I would raise my hand to recite. Thank you for impliedly invoking the Equal Protection Clause to ensure my blockmates shared in the anxiety of daily recitations. Attorney General, Attorney Tabora, and Judge Ladlad, the formidable trio who compelled me to study comprehensively and leave no stone unturned. I would even close my eyes when I would recite to them. Thank you for your never-ending questions, every single recitation that felt like a relentless cross-examination. Dean Rivero, RCM Ladlad, Judge Gobot, Fiscal Pedera, Attorney Moran, Attorney Gobot, Attorney Roldan, Attorney Quides, Attorney Formaran, and Attorney Bernarte, thank you for consistently reminding us of the human faces behind every codal provision. And our beloved Block Ninang, Attorney Watemar, and dear Block Ninong, Attorney Hamer, who each perfectly personified the concept of in loco parentis within the law school walls. Thank you for your tough love that tested our grit but supported us to the very end. Thank you to all our UNC law professors for testing our limits through examinations and recitations that frequently made us feel like it was our last day on earth. And for teaching us that the law is not just an intellectual exercise, it is a profound human responsibility. To the most dedicated and hardworking superwoman of the UNC School of Law, Madam Christy Oliquino, thank you for your quiet, indispensable support. To my ever-dependable staff at the Viscast Office of the Vice President for Admin and Finance, they're in full force today. They never judged my coffee-fueled exhaustion every day. Jonelle, Jessa, Sir George, Jam, thank you for holding down the fort and for keeping the wheels turning flawlessly while I pursued this dream. To my blockmates in Block C, may I request you to please stand. The legendary black sheep of the batch, Alan, Anna, Eric, Frank, Eileen, Christian, Isa, JM, Russ, Mervs, Philip, Sophia, Jonathan, and Ilona, thank you for proving that a law school family can exist without toxic competition. We carried each other across the finish line. Thank you for standing up. To my three brothers in our circle, Volt, Villalon, Orbita, Limen, Tolentino, Edgy, Rowan, and Matt, thank you for the brotherhood, the food trips, the rant sessions, and the essential sanity checks when the world felt too heavy. To my prayer warriors who are surely smiling down from heaven, Ate Dal and Mama Mani, my sisters Pink and Bim, my cousin Boy, my brother-in-law James, and my nieces, especially Angel, thank you for your love and for always keeping me grounded. And of course, to my fur baby, my cat Luna, thank you for being my silent, loyal study buddy for 4 years. And of course, to my dearest parents, thank you for always rooting for me. To my daddy Alex, a civil engineer and a UNC Master in Business Administration alumnus himself, who tirelessly provided for the family and faithfully drove me to UNC when I didn't know yet how to drive, and made a fearless forecast that I would become the class valedictorian. Thank you, Dad, for always believing in me. The final verdict is officially in. Your forecast was correct. And happy birthday in advance. To my mommy Penny, a nurse who gave up her career just to raise me. My very first teacher and the ultimate stage mother since preschool days, who would dress up like she herself was heading to a court hearing. Look at her. Mom, please stand up. And who practically knew all of my professors simply from listening from my animated storytelling of my recitations. Mom, you taught me the ultimate rule of advocacy. Kapag nasa katwiran, ipaglaban mo. Thank you, Mom, for teaching me how to fight, for every quiet sacrifice, and for your unceasing prayers. My fellow graduates, we entered the University of Nueva Caceres with different stories to tell. But today, we share a singular hard-won victory. A monumental challenge awaits us in the coming months, but today is not a day to be anxious. Today is a day reserved for utmost gratitude and celebration. And if this entire journey has taught me anything, it is that after all the pressure, our greatest victories are found when we finally learn to surrender our control. As the scripture gently reminds us, be still and know that I am God. Bago ako bumaba mula sa entabladong ito, hayaan ninyong itanong ko ulit sa inyo, kumusta po kayo? Kumusta po tayo? Kung kanina ang sagot ay pagod, sana'y iba na ang sagot pagkatapos nito. We are no longer just standing on the precipice of exhaustion. We are standing on the threshold of our destiny. Maaari ngang pagod ang ating mga katawan, pero alam kong pagsasaluhan nating lahat ang isang bagong katotohanan. Handa na tayo. Handa nang magsilbi, handa nang manindigan, handa nang maging boses ng katarungan. To the Juris Doctor class of 2026, our nation is crying out for lawyers who are courageous, compassionate, and uncompromisingly honest. May we be those lawyers. At sa kabila ng hirap, dusa at pagod, piliin pa rin natin ang Pilipinas. Kahit ang hirap mahalin nito. Let us make the Philippines our palagi. To the broader UNC graduating class of 2026, may we always remember that true success is never measured by the titles we accumulate, but by the lives we uplift. Ipagpatuloy lang po natin ang laban. Congratulations, University of Nueva Caceres School of Law. Congratulations to the entire graduating class of 2026. And congratulations to our parents, families, and loved ones who carried us through. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.